You got a hungry herd, a famished family, a posse to please? Try Dickey's Barbecue Family Packs. Our picnic pack for 4 people, our 6-pack for 6, and our XL Family Pack for 8. They include your choice of barbecue meats, new sides, buttery rolls, and barbecue sauce. Order your family packs online at Dickies.com, pick them up on the way home, and treat those troops to Dickey's Family Packs.
Dickies, we speak barbecue.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliate stations coast to coast present
Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue.
No-hitter for Arrieta.
Discussing baseball, good drinks, and food.
So,
Or clear for a minute so I can write down the damn time.
It just got weird.
With Ted Hicks.
Everybody wants to be Bartolo.
Todd Vandenberg.
The handsomest man on the entire goddamn tour.
And Lee Vowell.
Folks, look around. Anyone who's not singing in the choruses is a racist.
Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on the Happy Hour Network.
When did we change the intro? It's been such a long time since we've done this show. What wouldn't you say, Todd? You know, I'm following the outline. For some reason, I'm in black this week. I'm just going to leave it right there.
Indeed you are, sir. Indeed you are.
I want to say welcome to everyone that's listening to a very special Independence Day of the Lee edition of Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue with Ted and Todd. You like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Baseball, Beer, BBQ, and drink our favorite beers. Today's guest will be none other than Patrick Reddington. And no, he's not related to the guy from Blacklist either, who writes for Federal Baseball on SB Nation. And we'd also like to thank the great people at NGSC Sports, I-95, Back Sports page, who is coming back online any minute now. RF Sports, are you guys still out there? Arena Sports Network, Brian Snow, what's up? And who all graciously replay our show every week. You can also hear us on XP Radio in the UK, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. And I think Todd would like to thank someone special.
This one goes out to all the fans of Delilah out there. At CJ Computers NC on the Twitter, Computer Repair NC, 919-653-8496. Laptop repair, electronic device repair, dog repair. They fix it all at CJ Computers NC. Mostly.
And folks, that's our show. I want to thank you very much. Todd and I have officially opted out of our contracts, and we are officially free agents, only to be re-signed once again by the Happy Hour Network. Today's special announcement, just want to mention that I've wait, hold on one second. I think there's my wife is chastising my son right now. So wait, hold on. Let me hear. She's not playing that game. Oh my goodness. This is the Hicks household as a whole.
Someone is in trouble. And I like the way you immediately recognize that tone of voice because you've heard that before, haven't you?
Oh yes, I've heard it for years, for many years, for 18 years. The shrill.
Oh, wow. Oh, are you ever in trouble? Next week might be the Ted-free edition of the Baseball, Beer, Barbecue Show.
Yes. But I want to say that we've decided to renew our contracts. Todd, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you opted out of your contract also with me. We renewed our contract last night. We forgot to put anything on Twitter and Facebook and all the other stuff, and we don't have Snapchats, so that's for the younger folks. But yeah, we're back, and we're happy to be here. right?
Indeed we are. Indeed we are. I was just waiting for the soundbite, and it didn't happen. So
it didn't happen. I'm sorry. I just still caught up. But let's get to news. Let's get to news this week. News is Lee is actually vacationing, and he will be back to oppress all of us next week.
Yes, he will. And I'm sure at some point he'll listen to this. He's probably listening right now, and he's seething. He's seething. He's about to go off. He'll call
Yeah,
him.
he's going to call up. He's going to call up. I guess he gets... How many vacations does this guy get? Because he's always on vacation.
I believe it's 40 or 42 weeks. I'm not sure. Somewhere in there, though.
Oh, okay. 2016 takes another icon. We're going to discuss that in depth after today's guest, Patrick Reddington. But this has been some year, Todd. I'm telling you, it's hurtful.
It is. It's awful. And well, like I said, we'll get into more depth after that. I want to be in a good, happy, upbeat mood for our guest. I don't want to be, well, I don't know. I mean, you celebrate life is what you try to do. So,
yes,
but we will talk at depth about that. But man, 2016 has been rough. We're not even. Oh, I'm sorry. We are actually halfway through. So now we can have another half dozen icons of all kinds of endeavors of humanity croak in the second half. So yay, 2016.
Todd, I've never remembered a year like this, or maybe it's because it's come in bunches. I don't know. It's just. This has really, really, really been a really downer of a year for losing, or you like to say global icons, because it's not just affecting us in America, because they've done something special that's touched lives all over the world. So we'll get into that after today's guest. I guess I'm supposed to talk about Derrick Rose to Ted's New York Knicks. It's like the MASH unit has joined the New York Knicks. Hey, you did something great 5 years ago? Come join the New York Knicks, and we'll pay you a boatload of money. Oh, my goodness. I mean, with Noah and Rose and, all of this stuff going on, I'm kind of at a loss for words, because I keep saying, what's the over-under for these guys playing together? Porzingis is the crown jewel. Carmelo, we can't get rid of him unless we give him away because of that contract and those knees and I guess his wrist should be, he should start having problems with his wrist from all those years of jacking 35 shots a night. But what's the over under like? And I've asked this, Todd. I want to pose this to you. I've asked two good friends of mine that are basketball aficionados, and they said the over under is 65 games that Noah, Rose, Carmelo, and Porzingis play together of the 82. I can't see all four of them being that healthy. Yeah,
I'm shocked. Because the number that popped in my head was 28, which I mean, it's like you said. I mean, there's just a lot of injury trouble. I mean, Rose has been better last year than the previous 7 decades, but man alive, I mean, it's 65 would be terrific. I would think that even Phil would be thrilled. If they're all, I'm 62. If they're all on the court at the same time for that many games, that's a huge win. That's a huge win.
I can't see that. And someone told me they will go 40. Let me get this straight: 40, 37, and 25. For the 62 games. Someone gave me a number of 62 and said they'll go 37 and 25 for the 62 games. And I'm like, really? 62? I don't see more than about, and this is on the real extreme high, about 45 games total.
Yeah.
That all four of them, because, this one's going to have to sit, this one's going to have to rest, this one has a
Sure.
ingrown toenail, and can't play at $18 million a season. It's sickening. It's really sickening.
You finally got some free agents, though. Aren't you happy about that? Clearly not. Yeah, you actually want some that are actually going to be able to play whole season. I think I understand that concept. I mean, the thing is, it is an upside. I mean, you're definitely improved over where you were last season and the season before, and yada yada. But then you do have to look at it like, wow, the under is so big on this too. I mean, because. Yeah, it could be, like I said, could be 28 games, and you spent a lot of money to get very little production. That's, I don't know, pretty risky. Very risky.
I mean,
but they have to do something.
I just think Noah turns 32 in February. Melo turns 33 in May. I mean, Derrick Rose, we don't know what we're going to get.
Right.
And Porzingis is, like I said, the crown jewel. He's the crown jewel that you have to put the pieces around and kind of protect him down low until he puts on like 185 more pounds. That's kind of, I don't want to beat that up too much. I was kind of even more excited about Jeremy Lin coming back to New York via Brooklyn, via the Nets. And, of course, the haters are out there because of what happened with, I think they cut Jarrett Jack before the deal went down. Jarrett Jack was an option in his contract for $6.3 million. The Nets were on the hook for $500K of it. They paid him the $500K and said, thank you very much. Lynn in Brooklyn, let's call it. I mean, you know what? That presumptive Republican candidate says, let's not be politically correct. This is, yes, it's for his skill set. It's also for marketing, Todd. I'm sorry to even go there, but it is because when Jeremy Lin he came last season to Barclays Center to play a game. I went there. It was a great game. The place was packed. And the Asian population was very dominant there. And I'm not saying the Nets got him just because of looking at that market, because I think that would be short-sighted. But I think the fact that, yes, you got him. Okay, you got him for his 11 points a game. You got him because he's a steal at $13 million a season.
Yeah.
I think it's a friendly contract, team-friendly contract. 3 years, $13 million. You've got, like I said, or $12 million. You got the population there because they're looking to draw new fans.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing politically correct about saying it, and there's no reason to tiptoe around it. I mean, you serve your market. It's a business. If Jeremy Lin is going to draw in more fans, then you sign him, and he's going to draw more fans. I mean, the Mariners, they bring in Japanese players when they can, when it fits, when it's going to make the team better. But if they've got a player who is from Oklahoma and a player who's from Osaka, same guys, they're going to try to get the guy from Osaka because there's a large Asian population there. So it's just marketing. It's business sense. I don't think there's anything to tiptoe around. Now, if Jeremy Lin was, I don't know, a busted-up guy who's been injured almost all his career, like, I don't know, Derrick Rose, then you'd kind of wonder about what are they doing. But, yeah, there's not kidding about Derrick Rose, of course, but, yeah, there's no downside to this. I mean, the money that's getting thrown around, $13 million a year for 3 years, like you said, is like, that's coffee money in the NBA. That's nothing. And this guy's a good player. He is. He is probably the bargain of the entire free agent season so far. I wouldn't.
Totally.
I shouldn't say probably. He is. He is.
Because I got to tell you this much. Boy, is it a great time to be a mediocre player in the NBA. Because
No kidding.
oh my God. And can you imagine next season when the real money kicks in, when the new contracts and TNT and ESPN and everything else kicks in? I'm just going to mention a few names because, okay, I like the Knicks. I like the Nets. I watch the playoffs. But around the league, I won't say I'm an aficionado. Possibly you are. I mean, I'll watch a baseball game, period. It doesn't even have to be my team. But, like, with the NBA, it's a little different because DJ Augustine, point guard, signed with the Magic, Orlando Magic, for 4 years, $29 million. Never heard of him. Darrell Arthur, 3 years, $23 million.
I'm in the same boat.
Jared Bayless, 3 years, $27 million. Bradley Beal, who I've heard of, 5 years, $128 million. Jordan Clarkson, 4 years, $50 million with the Lakers. Mike Conley, who I know very well, mentioned as the most underrated player in the league. 5 years, $153 million to stay with the Grizzlies. He's a $30 million a year player?
Right.
Matthew.
It's incredible.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just saying it is absolutely incredible. Continue with the list of people I've never heard of that are millionaires, multimillionaires.
Matthew Dellavedova. 4 years, $38 million with the Bucks. Luol Deng, 4 years, $72 million.
It's unreal.
Wait. There's one. Timothy Mozgov, 4 years, $64 million. They gave a breakdown on Bleacher Report saying that's like $9 million per point he scored.
Yeah.
During the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
DeMar
Exactly.
DeRozan, who I've heard about, 5 years, $145 million.
And he's a good player.
Andre Drummond, 5 years, $130 million. Jared Dudley, 3 years, $30 million. I don't even know who these people are.
Now, the thing, Drummond deserves the money. I mean, well, let me rephrase that. All of these guys deserve the money because that's the market. I mean, that's just what it is. I can understand paying Drummond that money. I can understand DeRozan getting that money more or less because these guys. I mean, Drummond is a monster talent. DeRozan is an excellent player. You know, these aren't role players. These aren't guys who, scored average 4 points a game. I mean, my God, it's crazy the money that's out there. Like you said, it's just going to get crazier. And of course, a lot of NFL players have been tweeting about this and is like,
yes,
working on my crossover right now because they're just astounded. Here's one little bite that comes out of a list on the 4-letter website. Conley, DeRozan, Drummond, and Beal. Those 4 guys, their contracts total $547.4 million. The guaranteed money. Yes, go ahead.
I want to stop you right there. You said the word guaranteed, not this NFL
absolutely.
type of bogusness.
Right, guaranteed. Here's the list of the quarterbacks for that have guaranteed money that equals that. Andrew Luck, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Tony Romo, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Jared Goff, Sam Bradford, and Kirk Cousins. Combined, they are guaranteed that exact same money. So, there is absolutely no comparison in the pay scales of the NBA now compared to the NFL, and there never has been, but it's just gotten astronomical. And of course, and the people who are on current contracts, poor guys like Steph Curry. He's got to be looking at this like, what? It's like he's looking at this like, when I'm a free agent, what am I going to be making? That's unbelievable. And more power to him.
Yeah. Can you believe Dwight Howard? He got a 3-year, $70 million deal. Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Neither of us are knocking the players for getting this. It's just the insanity of this is where the money is. Because, again, the people who have more money are the ones signing the paychecks. So it's crazy the amount of money that's flying around the NBA. This is just – it is amazing when you see guys that they were role players for role players. I mean, these guys, they averaged 42 minutes, okay, not 42 minutes, but, 38 minutes, a game on the bench. And, they have $100 million contracts. It's like, what in God's name is going on? It is amazing. But, yeah, more power to these guys. It's nice that we're finally a long way away from when guys would have to fight for meal money in their contract negotiation and, get cut loose for no reason whatsoever other than that, they gave the owner a bad look or something like that. So it is still absolutely incredible to see some of these numbers.
Two more things I want to mention. Chandler Parsons signed with the Grizzlies. David Fitzdale, the new coach, he's stocked. But Chandler Parsons, 4 years, $94 million, and who is it? Hassan Whiteside for the Miami Heat. I know EJ, when he listens to this, he's going to be like, oh, my goodness, Whiteside is this. 4 years, $98 million. This guy made $980,000 last season.
I just got a note from our good Rob Steele of the FWAT show. He's available for $50K any team, and he does go to the left really well. So just putting that out there for all the NBA franchises out there.
Oh my goodness!
Rob Steele is available. Definitely has more games than half the tools he just signed.
There's a ton of players that are still out there. The only one I want to talk about is the real game changer, Kevin Durant. He's up here in New York, in the Hamptons, taking meetings with teams, and I don't think the Knicks or the Nets could have secured a meeting with him. How would you feel, Todd, if you were the owner of a team, the crown jewel of free agents is out there, and he's maybe 2 hours or so from where you live, you reside, and you can't even book a meeting with him?
I'd be a little perturbed and a little insulted, but then again, I would just, I guess, have to look at my franchise and think about what's going on with that. I mean, there's a reason, right? Because he has said it's a basketball decision. Obviously, because he knows he's getting the money, so it doesn't matter where he goes for that, and it makes sense. It should be a basketball decision for him. So, I think honestly they have to look at their basketball situation and figure it out. It's like, well, which explains why they're doing what they're doing to their team. Yes, the last question, NBA question I have for you is, if you were Kevin Durant, I mean, we know you are Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue's Kevin Durant, but Todd, do you actually need an agent? Do you need, if you're going to get max money, do you actually need an agent to negotiate on your behalf? Not for marketing, not for commercials, and Nike is paying you $300 or $400 million, but like, what do you actually need an agent for? And I'm sorry if this is taking a shot at agents, but this guy's a max player. So whoever approaches him is going to have to give him a blank check or sell him on the reason why he needs to take less money. Like, what is your definition? What's your reason for having an agent, Todd? In his situation, you're right. And I don't think you're taking a shot at agents, but in this particular situation, it's like he doesn't need an agent. Because he's not going to be signing a long-term contract anyway. Like you said, he's hitting max money. He's going to sign, for 1 year and a year option, and because he can, so then he can make the huge money next. It's like, come on. Yeah, but then again, it's like he will want that agent for when he signs the actual big contract, the one that will make this contract look like a joke. So, just that as a matter of goodwill, he wants to kick his agent. What is his agent going to make? I mean, are they making 6% or 3%?
So no, I think you're right. I was low on the low end. It's probably 5 or 6%.
I was thinking 6. Regardless, I'll take 0.1% of what his contract is going to be. It's like, holy cow! It just, but yeah, he will need him to determine whether he should sign a 5-year contract for, I don't know, $800 million or a 6-year. Who knows what the contract is going to be down the road? It's like, here's how we'll structure this deal for you, Kevin. We'll give you 5 years at $140 per, but you also get 10% ownership of the team. That's why he needs the agent to figure it out.
That's why you need the agent. Okay. God. I know we have to touch upon. I know we're going to have to touch upon UFC and Wimbledon. We want to definitely touch upon that, but we want to give it its proper due. We have a couple of minutes before our guest arrives, so I'm kind of at the point of, I don't know if you want to do Dummy of the Week. I'm not sure if you do or you don't.
I love Dummy of the Week.
Oh, and now I got to cue up the music for Dummy of the Week. I just thought about this. I said, you see what happens when you go out of your outline? That's why you put together the outline.
That's why we do it, baby. You big dummy. Oh,
my goodness. You big dummy. Ted, you win the Dummy of the Week because you didn't have anything queued up. Oh, my goodness.
This is quite a big build-up for a segment we probably won't get to. I like it.
I know. And I'm still
searching.
Thumbing through it. Oh, here it goes. All right, you guys are ready? All right, set and go. And
you big dummy.
What a lead up.
Wow.
What a lead up to it.
That was underwhelming.
I'm going to tell you this much. I nominate myself for reading the outline, going out of order, and not being ready to cue up the audio for the big Dummy of the Week.
You got to be ready. You can jump anywhere you want, but man, we're not even ready. It's like, what?
You're not ready. And then Lee comes back next week and says, "This is what I pay you guys for?"
Exactly. This is why I pay you Jeremy Lin money? What the hell?
Oh, my goodness.
He's going to be very upset.
Who's on your list, or who's on your short list for Dummy of the Week?
Oh, man, it's a long list. It's a long list for Dummy of the Week. I'm going to stay away from politics on this one because it's almost too easy, right? And depending on who's listening, there are one of two people, and they automatically have their mind made up about that already. So, Dummy of the Week, I would actually, and this is a very, very soft Dummy of the Week, but this ties into the year 2016. We had a couple big people pass away in sports. One, I think, is an icon. The other is a big figure, and that's Buddy Ryan. And we'll talk about Buddy Ryan later, and not knocking Buddy Ryan. But people were saying, oh, we lost 2 icons this week.
Stop.
Exactly. Anybody who thinks Buddy Ryan is on the level of Pat Summitt, name me the professional sports league that was created basically from the body of work of Buddy Ryan. There isn't one. So anybody who thinks that's equivalent to Pat Summitt is my Dummy of the Week. And again, not knocking Buddy Ryan, but it's a different level of accomplishment. So, and again, we'll talk more about that when we get into that. But there's that. One is an icon. The other was a big name in the NFL. and that's as far as it goes. So,
hey, I just want to really quick, because I believe our guest is on the line. To all those people that have Twitter fingers and can't say anything positive. I mean, I don't know if it was. I think I tweeted out an article last week, and it was about Ayesha Curry, and people were just unloading on her. And I just looked at her timeline, the amount of inappropriate pictures that were sent to her, and just the utter hate. Guys, it's a basketball game. It's a basketball game. You enjoy it. You didn't go to the arena. You watched it on your TV. It was on free TV.
unbelievable.
Lighten up, please. All right. So we're gonna switch gears. I believe at 10:30. And I don't know if I'm going. Am I going Megatron or
You're
not?
going Megatron. You are going Megatron. This is awesome. Awesome time.
This is great. So
would you like me to step in and bring on our guest?
Yeah.
I will do that.
I'll bring him on, and you rock and roll.
What perfect timing. We are bringing in Patrick Reddington. He writes for the Federal Baseball site on SB Nation. You can also be found on federalbaseball.com. Patrick, fair warning, Ted is a hostile Mets fan. I am a hostile Marlins fan, so, stand your ground, sir. How are you today?
Pretty good, and we got a 6-game lead, so bring it.
Here we go.
Exactly. Ted, I don't know what you're going to do to fix the Megatron problem, but it's worse than ever. So we'll flip on our questions for right now, and hopefully it'll clear up. So first thing for you, is this where you expected the Nationals to be at this point in the season, Patrick?
Yeah, I expected them to be competitive for sure this year, especially when they brought in Dusty Baker. I thought that was a little drama around his signing when they supposedly had Bud Black and were negotiating with both, but I kind of liked what Dusty Baker brought to the table in spite of all the bad reports you hear about him ruining arms and everything. I just thought the Nationals had the talent to be there last year, and things didn't work out for a number of reasons, mainly injuries and people not getting along well with Matt Williams from what you hear from reports, but this is definitely where I expected them to be at this point. They're way too talented to finish like they did last year, so kind of where they are right now is where I expected them to be, and I expect the Marlins and Mets to make a fight of it going forward. I don't think the Mets are going to quit just the way they did last year, with how well they did last year, I should say. I don't think they're going to tank this year, and I expect them to make a few moves to make up for some of the injuries that they have, and I'm really surprised and kind of impressed by what the Marlins are doing. I always liked Donnie Baseball, and I think bringing Barry Bonds in there as hitting coach is really having a nice effect on some of the guys like Marcell Ozuna, so should be competitive going forward, but this is where I expected the Nationals to be for sure.
And same with Dusty Baker, because, to me, that might have been the most important signing they've got, because I've always thought Dusty Baker's just an absolutely great manager. What do you think he brings to the table that Matt Williams didn't, other than almost everything?
A lot of history. I'll also add that I think bringing Mike Maddox in as the pitching coach is right up there with Dusty Baker as some of the important not under the radar, but off the field moves that they made. I think Mike Maddox has had a great effect on some of the pitchers the Nationals have and really kind of boosted up the bullpen. I just like everything they've done, basically. But I think Dusty Baker just has some history to him. There's a little bit of awe, not only in us reporters who get to talk to him on a daily basis, but in the players who know his career and, the history that he brings to there. And he just has, just listening to him talk on a daily basis, he has a story for everything. He can relate to the players really well, which was apparently an issue with Matt Williams. And I think some of the stuff with Matt Williams might be a little overblown, but just the way that Dusty Baker reacts with the players and the relationship that he has with them so far this year, from what I've seen, just really seems to have made a difference and kind of lit a fire under these guys. And just to see the guy out there, 67-year-old guy, jumping around in the dugout, screaming profanities when the Nationals win at times. It's just, he just really brings an energy to the team that seemed to be lacking last year, in my opinion.
Patrick, this is Ted. I hope I'm clear because, yes, the Mets fan is back. we're close on your tail. I mean, yeah, 6 games. Blink your eyes, it could be 2 games again. But Steven Strasburg hit the DL again. He may pitch on Sunday. I don't know your take on it because you're an insider. So he's been great, but is he ever going to be healthy?
Aside from obviously the elbow issue, it's just been little things here and there over the last couple of years. You got to be happy with that, but it's really kind of disappointing right now just to have him dealing with this upper back issue, whatever it actually is, because started as an explanation of an upper back issue. They've also talked about how ribs popped out and they had to pop them back in, which sounds like a horribly painful thing to do when you're trying to go out there and pitch. But, for the last couple of years when he's been available and on the mound, he's just dominant. After he came back from the second DL stint last year, he had that ankle issue in spring training, and that kind of messed up his mechanics according to the Nationals and led to some back problems last year. But he's been pretty dominant since then, so you got to be happy with what they have. And the fact that he came back from the Tommy John surgery, liked the way the Nationals dealt with him enough that he decided to stay, and rather than testing free agency, which is really rare for a Scott Boras client, you just have to be happy with everything he's done so far. And the changes we've seen in the last year or two in him on the field and off the field have been pretty impressive. So you hope that this is just a little issue that he can get past. I'm kind of hoping that they don't pitch him on Sunday and kind of keep him out until after the All-Star break to kind of rest him up and get him into the second half going strong. So I'm not sure what they're going to do on Sunday, but if Strasburg doesn't pitch and you can throw Lucas Giolito out there, it's not too bad an option.
And that was my, part of my next question. You're using that ESPN type stuff that that the Nationals fans have. If Strasburg stays healthy, does Lucas Giolito take Gonzalez's turn in the rotation?
Not from what Mike Rizzo has said recently. A couple of interviews last week, obviously people are asking that question. Even consider the possibility of Giolito pitching out of the bullpen, which I don't take too seriously and kind of hope they don't do. But Gio is better this time out. The last 7 or 8 starts, he's been pretty awful, to be honest with you. It's just, a 7.8 ERA somewhere in there. It's just tough to take, and he puts the Nationals in a hole and just seems to have that really one bad inning every once in a while that kind of blows up his start. So you saw them do it last year. Doug Fister was struggling, wasn't able to keep the ball down in the zone, which for a sinker balling pitcher is just death, and he was getting knocked all around the park. And they brought 22-year-old Joe Ross up from the Double-A and stuck him in that rotation and ended up keeping him in there when Doug Fister went out. So there's some precedent for them doing this. And with a kid as talented as Giolito and as major league ready as he seems to be, if Gonzalez continues to struggle, I wouldn't be completely surprised to see it, but I'm not expecting it. I think Gio's going to turn it around, honestly, and I think the Nationals want him to turn it around so they don't have to push Giolito up a little quicker than they probably would otherwise.
Hey, Patrick, this is Todd again. I'm going to step away from the pitching for a bit. What's been the bigger surprise to you, that Harper's tailed off as much as he has, or that Murphy is still banging the way he is?
I think Harper kind of set himself up for failure with as good a season as he had last year. I think that was a completely unique kind of season that you don't see too often from any major league players. The drop back this year has been really big, and the struggles that he's had out there just kind of surprised me, basically. I didn't imagine him being as lost as he's been over the last couple months, but he seems to be picking it up. He has like a 280 average, over 400 OBP the last month. You kind of hope he's getting back there, but I'm having watched Daniel Murphy's whole career from the other side, seeing what he's doing now and what he did, at the end of last year and continued this year. It's just got to be more surprising than Harper's struggles, even because he's just on fire and doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. He's not hitting 400 like he was for the first 2 months, but still leading the league with a 350 average, multi-hit games just about every night, and just really, along with Dusty Baker, I'd say those are the 2 most important signings the Nationals made this winter.
Yeah, Murphy has really been surprising, and as a Marlins fan, it's like, unfortunately, I think you're right about Harper. He's bouncing back. I mean, and there's no way he could have kept up what he was doing in April. So, but let's talk about an actual team. I'm joking, it's not an actual team, but they're playing okay. Does anything in particular worry you about the Marlins?
I love the Marlins team, honestly. Maybe outside of their pitching, Marcell Ozuna is someone I always really like. To see what he's doing this year has been really impressive. I don't think Giancarlo Stanton's going to struggle like he has, and Christian Yelich is probably one of my favorite non-national players in the league to watch. And any rotation that starts with Jose Fernandez, you got to be a little bit afraid of. So, like I said, I really like the signing of Don Mattingly there. I think he's got to bring something to the table that's kind of changed the way they're playing down there. And I'm not writing them off at all. I kind of think that they're a couple injuries away from, don't really have the depth that some of the other teams in the division have. So any injuries or issues with them usually kind of knocks them out and sends them into a tailspin. But if they can keep that team on the field and healthy, I'm as worried about them as the Mets as a competitor.
Patrick, this is Ted again. And like I said, you were dead on. I was going to say, what worries you about my reigning NL champions, the New York Mets?
Like I mentioned before, what really worries me about them is that they got a taste of that winning last year, going all the way to the World Series, and I don't think they're going to accept missing players like David Wright and not do something to kind of make up for that. So with the trade deadline approaching on August 1st this year rather than the usual July 31st, I'm kind of just, holding my breath and waiting to see what these guys do, because I don't think they're going to stand pat and go forward with what they have. I think they're going to be making some moves at the deadline and try to bolster what they have there, and they can keep their pitchers healthy, which I really want to see them do. I don't like all the reports that we're seeing about their pitchers having issues, and kind of hope that they all stay healthy just for baseball's sake. You want those guys out there pitching and healthy as much as possible. So since they brought Sandy Alderson in as the GM, I've been kind of worried about what he was going to do. I thought he was basically the perfect guy for that job to kind of turn things around in New York, and what he's done so far has got to be troubling to everyone else in the division, and what he's going to do has me a little bit worried.
And that was my next question, because Sandy this week, I mean, I would love to play poker with Sandy Alderson, truthfully, because he puts out, to I guess through their PR staff, that hey, we're not doing any major trades. We're going to have to do it internally, and then Nimmo comes up over the last 4 or 5 games, and he smacked that home run last night. But knowing Sandy, how he operates, yes or no, do you think he's going to pull off one of those type of Cespedes deals as he did last season?
Bringing in a Cespedes, I don't know if you can match that. That was just a fantastic move, and luckily for them, worked out extremely well going down the stretch last year. But I don't know if I see another move as big as that. I can see them filling their holes a little bit, especially with Wright. If he's unavailable and doesn't come back, they have to get some sort of bat in the lineup. And with the Ryan Brauns of the world out there and people like that, I'd never count them out as doing something to kind of fill that hole. But as for what they do, it's just one of those things where you can read all the speculation, but most of the stuff that comes out in the press is just stuff that gets out there for a reason. And I'm not counting them out as far as going into the trade deadline, bringing someone in, and whether or not it's as big as Cespedes, I don't know, but I definitely think they're going to make some movements before the deadline.
Patrick, I have one serious question for you. You are the GM/EVP of your team. You oversee all operations. You have a chance to pick up Jose Reyes off the waivers, and or kind of you're available to cut a deal with the Cincinnati Reds for Chapman. Do you pull either one of those deals? Do you pull the trigger on either one of those deals?
It's tough, especially in Washington, where Mike Rizzo has made a big deal out of every time they find someone, talking about the character and what they bring to the team. And this is kind of a PR nightmare with some of these guys, especially in Washington, D.C., where it's a big political town, and people were kind of up in arms with Daniel Murphy over some of the comments that he made. And I'm on the fence, honestly, between the talent and the person, what you do, and how much of a PR hit you want to take in order to make your team better. Mike Rizzo was definitely interested in Chapman this winter when all the domestic violence stuff came up before anything was even settled. When Major League Baseball made a ruling on that, he said that they kind of dropped out of the running once that stuff came up. So whether or not they'd revisit that is unclear. And Dusty Baker absolutely loves him. Had a lot of good things to say about him when the whole issue came up. So it's a delicate balance for sure. you just got to worry about taking that PR hit, how that'll affect the fan base, and if you're going to deal with a couple of weeks of horrible coverage in the news of people being upset that you brought him in there, whether or not they'll get over that when they see him out on the mound and see how talented he is. That's a tough thing in sports these days, to deal with all the off-field issues. Nothing gets by the press anymore with the internet and regular media covering these teams on a daily basis. So you really have to weigh the options there, how much of a PR hit you want to take to get talent on the field.
Gotcha. Patrick, thanks for answering that question, because it really is tough. And I could tell you, for one, personally, our team here, we've talked about it in depth. Each of us have gone into our individual chat rooms and talked about, when the team takes that questionable player, what does it do from a PR stance? So I appreciate your answer. I guess my final question would be this. Nationals related question. Who would you rather be, Jason Worth or everyone wants to be Jason Worth, right?
Right now, yes, definitely everyone wants to be Jason Worth, just because we talked about this a lot recently, how much fun he seems to be having on the field right now. I think he's kind of realized that he's a lot closer to the end of his career than he was at the beginning now, 37 going on 38, one more year after this on his contract with the Nationals, and who knows after that. And he seems to have really kind of embraced the whole role as the elder statesman on this team, and just seems to be enjoying himself and enjoying dealing with fans and the media a lot more than he has in recent years. Kind of nice to see him do that. You kind of hope that the numbers pick up a little bit out there in left field, because he struggled at the beginning of this year. Dusty Baker kept telling us all that he's an old engine, and you have to let him warm up a little bit before he gets started there, and hope that when he does, he keeps it going, unlike some of the young guys who start hot and then kind of hit the wall somewhere in the middle of the season. Worth knows how to get through a whole season. If he can stay healthy out there, you like having him on the field and at the plate when big situations come up. So it's got to be nice to be Jason Worth right now and just be kind of enjoying this as much as you can before it's over.
Patrick, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, taking a few minutes out. You could have been anywhere, but you're here with Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue. Tell us best ways we can find out about your writings or your website, your social media presence. Tell us all about it, and tell our listeners about it.
Yeah, we're at Federal Baseball on Twitter, federalbaseball.com, part of the SB Nation. We also do most nights post-game podcast that we do with two of my friends, Dave Nichols from Federal Baseball and our Doghouse, who remains with his online moniker to protect his identity. But that's probably the most fun we have, basically getting online on Blog Talk Radio every night and talking about the game afterwards. Definitely check that out. And we have a number of writers on our site this year who are making great contributions, and the site's really doing well. So any support we always appreciate, and appreciate you guys having me on. Always enjoy talking baseball.
And once again, thanks so much. We will give you a round of applause. Yes, the Mets fan is giving a Nats fan a round of applause. Patrick, thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Nice to talk to you.
Good man. Good man, Ted. Patrick,
yes,
that was terrific.
Yes.
It's great article, and again, great articles on that site. He mentioned Doghouse. I'm glad he mentioned Doghouse. There's some really good articles that he's put up there too. So, an excellent site for those who are not mortal enemies of the Washington Nationals, as you and I are. So, that was fun. He was an excellent guest.
I forgot to.
Yes.
I forgot to ask him the question about Cespedes leaving them high and dry with a contract for $100 million to come back to New York. Darn, I forgot to ask that question.
I do have to say, I liked what he said about the Marlins, but I also felt kind of like the 6-year-old kid getting his hair scruffed by his 14-year-old big brother. It's like, I like you guys a lot. And he wasn't being condescending, but it's like, I'm a Marlins fan. I mean, it's not like, it's not my team, but I do like the Marlins. But they're not the Nationals. I mean, I'm realistic. No. They're not the Nationals. They're not the Mets. It's like I'm extremely happy with how they're playing right now, especially the way the season started for them. But, they're not a whole lot of bad things would have to happen for the Mets and the Nationals for the Marlins to get in there. So I don't think that's going to happen. But at least they seem to be headed the right direction.
That is true. That is true. One of our better he really handled the interview really, really well. I mean, I kind of threw that curveball about values in there because, it's still a sticking point for me, Todd.
Oh, yeah, it's a great question, and I liked his answer. I mean, I know what your answer would be, and I know what my answer would be. We know what Lee's answer would be.
Right.
But I liked the honesty because he didn't just say, I was like, I would never. I mean, if he felt that way, that's fine. But, I mean, it is a business, and he approached it as you put it, if you are the GM. And you do have to weigh, as the teams obviously do, the value on the field as opposed to the press that you get from signing a person with incidents in their past. So it was a great answer, I thought. And
Definitely.
The whole interview was great. I'd love to have him back on. Lee probably won't because Lee wasn't here for it because, that's how Lee is.
I guess we'll go to baseball before we hit some of these other topics.
Because we love baseball.
Because we love baseball. But I want us to hit Wimbledon. Because I know as little possible as for Wimbledon. I mean, I'm like, I just don't. I just don't follow it. And I'm sorry I don't follow it.
What sport is it? What sport is it?
Golf.
Okay, well, you're right. You do know as little as possible about
If you gave me another chance, I was going to say lacrosse. But
closer.
But I guess with baseball, the first option we have up here is maybe Cleveland is the city of champions. Yeah. I mean, I think LeBron broke the curse. The Indians win 14 straight?
Yeah,
really?
Amazing. And that was, 19 innings yesterday to win their 14th straight to set their record. So, and going into it, Cleveland was a hot pick of a lot of people for the division, and which kind of made, I'm sure, the people of Kansas City upset because Kansas City, all they ever do is keep on winning the division, and no one ever predicts them to do it. But at this point, right now, Cleveland has the second best record in the American League, and that's what a 14-game winning streak will do that for you too.
Wow.
But 14-game winning streak, and they're 19 games over 500. So even before that, they were playing well. It's not like they were garbage and then just ran off this incredible streak. They were a good team before that. So that's the 14-game streak is, of course, that's incredible. But yeah, they're pretty much living up to expectations at this point. So good for Cleveland. And man, that rotation is sick. I mean, there's not an easy. You're not going to think, okay, well, at least we get to the third guy. It's like, doesn't matter who's out there on the mound, especially obviously in this run. But I mean, that's a tough rotation to face. So it'll be an interesting race, and I'm glad it's an interesting race. I mean, I still think that the Royals, just because they've been able to do it, I think the Royals will be in it at the end. They're 7 back right now, but it'll be fun. And my Tigers are 7.5 back, and hopefully they'll pick it up. But that's tough. That's tough when you're up against two good teams. As I know as a Marlins fan, and as we've seen year after year now in the National League Central, certainly not happening this season, but that's how it's been in the National League Central. So maybe the AL Central will be this year's version of that. Not going to happen, but as a Tigers fan, I can dream.
I'm just excited that we are going to be in Believeland August 13th, doing a live show in Believeland, watching the Indians and Angels, and it's just outside of 45. We're less than 45 days away, so really excited about that. I mean, because I had a few of my friends pull a joking Noah. You're going to Cleveland for what? No one goes to Cleveland for anything. And I'm like, yeah, okay, losers.
Wow, kind of harsh, Ted. Kind of harsh, but they deserved it. I wonder how much money it would cost for the city to change its name to Believeland.
Dude,
they should do that. They should just change it to Believeland. That would be awesome.
They should do it. So, hey, what's going on with Madison Bumgarner? You know, it's
what a beast.
He is unbelievable. You know, I mean, it ignites a 6-run inning. I mean, so wait, is he going to be in the home run derby or is he not?
I haven't heard, and I don't know. This makes you wonder if the team's going to say, yeah, go ahead. I mean, they're letting him hit in a game where they should have had DH. It's like, why not? And I think, and I'm probably wrong on this, but I believe I heard that they only had 2 guys on the bench with more homers than Bumgarner. So
wow,
made more sense to have him, hit for himself. Amazing. And he only went 1 for 4, which I'm sure he was disappointed about. But he did hit the double and ignited that rally, and
that's awesome.
And I do wonder about this though. He gave up 4 runs in that game, and I think it's probably just a coincidence. But it is interesting that's one of his, which tells you a lot about how he's doing. That's one of his worst outings of the season, if not the worst outing of the season. But it is interesting. It's like, makes you wonder, so, and that's the only game that he happened to hit in on when he didn't have to. So it's kind of, of course, that's the thing. I mean, most games he has to. So still an odd thing. It's like, maybe he should have gotten it. Maybe he was just too amped up from seriously, maybe he was so amped up from the fact that, hey, I'm hitting in an American League park. This is kind of cool. Maybe that was in the back of his head, and it probably meant nothing. And they won anyway. I mean, they demolished the A's, so it doesn't matter anyway. But
right.
A guy who's really not quite as good a pitcher as Mr. Bumgarner. Big games. Unbelievable. His had 2 good outings in a row. He gave up 3 runs on his previous start. He only gave up 1 run in 6 2/3. But this is how bad his season has been, and especially his June has been. He gives up 1 run in 6 2/3, and that dropped his ERA for the month to 11.
Wow.
I mean, his first 3 starts for the White Sox. What a great trade. This is going to help us get over the edge. His first 3 starts, his ERA was almost 22. Not 2.2, 22. And no, I did not forget to divide by 9. 21.81. Oh,
wow.
My God. So they've got to be singing hallelujahs because he's actually had 2 decent starts in a row. So maybe he's come around, but it's just, baseball is so weird because Shields is not, to me, he was never big game James, but he's a good pitcher. He's a really good pitcher. He's a decent 2, certainly a good 3. How do you have an ERA of 22 in a 3-game stretch? I mean, he was just getting annihilated. Absolutely annihilated. And apparently it wasn't, if it was an injury, it must have been really minor because he was pitching pretty well before that. And obviously he's pitching well again, but it's just, talk about losing it. Unreal. But good for him that he's apparently figured it out because that's, sucks for him, sucks for the White Sox. But it's kind of fun to look at that and say, wow, how many runs can you possibly give up before the manager pulls you out? It's like, at what point do you think, 8 runs in the first inning, that's okay, I'll leave him. I mean, seriously. Because if he had pulled him out, unbelievable.
Don't forget, honorable mention, fun fact, that James Shields he's in the, I believe, Guinness Book of World's Record. He is the pitcher on record that gave up the home run to Bartolo Colon this year.
That's right. the pitcher who gave up the home run to the guy with the record for going the longest in a career without a home run. So,
yes,
if anybody can do it, it's like, I'm here for you, buddy. I hope
what did Gary Cohen?
Bought him a steak.
What did Gary Cohen say? The impossible is possible.
Oh my God.
Bartolo should have bought him a car after that, let alone a steak.
He should have. Hey, did anyone tell Lee that Sandy Koufax is back on the DL?
I think he's aware of that. That's probably he's not on vacation. He's just in mourning. He's been hiding all week. Yeah, that's pretty scary with back trouble.
It is.
It's scary when the team sends him, or he sent himself, however it went, to the best back specialist in the country.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I certainly don't dislike the Dodgers. I mean, they've always been one of those teams that I kind of like and respect, and obviously the best pitcher in baseball, hands down, in a long time. And you never want to see players have injury problems. I mean, and we talk about it. It's like if you're going up against the Dodgers, you want to beat Kershaw. You don't want to beat the kid they called up from AAA to take the rotation spot, and everybody moved up. I mean, that's the guy you want to beat. So it really sucks. Hopefully it's something, because I haven't heard anything specific about what's going on with it. I don't know if you have or not, but hopefully it's something minor, and he just misses a couple and he's back in pitching ridiculously well again. I mean, I haven't even looked at his stats, and since this is a baseball show, I probably should look at his stats, but I don't know, how many walks has he given up? 7, 8, and like 780 strikeouts?
Much.
I mean,
I know.
What an unbelievable season he's had. It's hopefully he comes back very soon, because
Kershaw will be back. He'll be back.
He'll be back, but I mean, hopefully he'll be back quickly and without even missing a beat. Because it'll be interesting to see how they do without him. I mean, right now they're 6 back, which they've had an up and down season, but man, talk about. We've talked several times about whether starting pitchers should be MVPs or not. If there's ever been a starting pitcher who's been an MVP, like what Kershaw means to the Dodgers is unbelievable. He is absolutely the MVP of that team. And if he comes back soon and continues like he is, he should be the MVP of the league. I mean, He's just incredible. In a year of incredibly dominant pitching, he still stands out. So. How about your Mets? How about the fact that none of them apparently can manage to pitch without ripping their arms off or blowing out elbows and backs and knees? And what's up with the Mets?
It's about being a Mets fan. It's you got to think about this. Before last season, we would be entering July. Usually marks the month where the Mets just fall out of competition. In previous years. For I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years in a row, where they just fall out of competition. And the month of August was really more about looking at who's in AAA, who's going to come up, and everything else like that. I had a discussion with my buddy Roy at work. Roy works in the copy center at my job. And we always either I'll go down to the copy center, or he'll come up, and we'll talk a little baseball. Because believe it or not, that helps me prepare for this show. Because he's a diehard Pittsburgh Pirates fan, proudly walking around with his Pirates gear on all the time. So we were talking about the Mets and the arms, and he was like, "Ted, are you worried?" I'm like, "No, I'm not worried, because it's the byproduct. It's what everyone else has been saying. It's the byproduct of those guys last season. In their minds, in the beginning of the season, Terry Collins didn't know what he really had. Now, not in regards to talent. He understands the talent and everything, but, the Mets were like, hey, this guy right here, DeGrom is going to go 165, 170 innings. Syndergaard is going to go this. Harvey's, we know the Harvey story. But when that playoff happened, when they were still contending, when Jonas arrived and just breathed life into that lineup, something happened. And they were prepared for these guys to probably, stop pitching around early to mid to early September, and at that point you start getting some of the farm talent up there. That didn't happen. Right. They pitched into October, and now the honeymoon and all of that additional work has come back to bite them. And it's you can't be mad at anyone. You can't blame. No one can get fired for this. This is not Terry Collins' fault. The only thing that was his fault was him getting bullied by Harvey and pitching that ninth inning. That's right. The only thing that we can blame him on. But it's young arms. Were they overused? They're overused in the sense of they didn't expect to be putting in that much work, and here they are again putting in innings, and you're like, oh my goodness. And now they're going to be putting in even more innings because, like I said, we're 6 behind. We're 6 behind. The key to it is winning that division, and these are your horses. Bartolo, is going to give you 200 innings or thereabout every season. And even he got hurt and nicked up a little bit last week. But I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned with the talent that they have coming up, the fact that they said they're going to have to do it internally. That tells us Wilpons has probably told Sandy Alderson, we're not buying like we bought last year. Use what you have. So
right.
The bullpen has to step up, and our guys have to do what they need to do. But does it go to a 6-man rotation? Because I think that's what they were talking about last.
I was just going to talk about that.
About last year. Yeah.
Let's talk about a 6-man rotation next week when Lee is back in, because I know he's going to want to weigh in on that. I mean, in depth.
Yes.
Not saying don't talk about a 6-man rotation. That's terrible. But it's like in depth, we'll look into. It's like, hey, what does that do to your team, or can you structure the pitching differently just within a game? Like Tony La Russa started with relievers famously a few times. I mean, so just a different approach to pitching, some way to address this, because it's hitting the Mets, but it hits every team. I mean, isn't Syndergaard the only guy who hasn't had Tommy John surgery in the rotation?
He's the only guy, and when people say,
that's
say bone spurs. Yeah, right. People say bone spurs. People say this. He's the only guy, and when he's talking about it's the wear and tear. So I think that's a great topic for next week for 6-man rotation and how to deal with it, because last season the Mets tried it. Of course, Big Mouth had something to say about it. And so we'll leave it there. In regards to standings, I think you touched upon it. We go AL East. We got Baltimore is leading by 4 games. You got Boston in second place. AL Central, you got Cleveland. Hey, Cleveland's in first place? Oh, my goodness.
They're tearing it up.
I'm even more excited about August 13th. Oh, my goodness. But like you said, you got the Royals that are behind by 7. So, I mean, you can't discount the Royals.
No, absolutely you can't.
You can't discount them. And like you said earlier, Detroit is there. Detroit is there, and I would not, close my eyes on Detroit. You got AL West. You got Texas leading by 8.5 games over the Astros, and you got Seattle in third place, 10.5 behind. Wow. NL East, you have, of course, we have the Nationals leading the Mets by 6, but the Marlins are a half game behind, 6.5 games behind total. Wouldn't discount them. NL Central, it's the Cubs all day. I mean, they are going to win the World Series this year, right? I mean, wasn't it? It was. If Cleveland won the NBA World Championship, I'm sure the Cubs are going to win this year, and Theo will go down as the greatest mind of all time. And you mentioned with the Giants and Dodgers, a 6-game difference. I know you mentioned some of this stuff already, but I will tell you this much. For some reason, this year, the Nationals do have the Mets number. They really do, and it seems like the landscapers are they are here. So let me close the window. Oh my God! Hold on one second.
I will say this about the Cubs: while Ted shuts out the landscapers, they are quote unquote struggling. They're 4-6 in their last 10, and they're still. That's such a joke. They're 4-6. The Cubs are struggling at 4-6 in the last 10 games. They're not playing as well as they have been. Obviously, when you're 4-6, you're not playing really well. And how many games are they over 500? Even though they've been struggling, this sounds like a joke. They're still 23 games over 500. It's like, man, that's just what an amazing good team the Cubs are, and it's good for baseball. I guess unless you're a Cardinals fan, in which case it's not good for baseball. And I like the Cardinals, but it's like if you can't be happy for the Cubs and the Cubs fans, it's like there's something wrong with you. So that continues to be a great story in baseball. You mentioned
what has happened. Go ahead.
What has happened?
No, what has happened with the Pirates?
Having a tough go of it. Same thing with the Cardinals. It's and they were both kind of the Pirates were struggling early and they picked it up, and now they're back down just kind of being a mediocre team, and the Cardinals are being a mediocre team. I mean, Cardinals are 41-38, Pittsburgh is 39-41. It's like it's the same record basically. I mean, obviously you don't want to be a couple games behind at the end of September, but it's the beginning of July. The problem is they're both mediocre teams right now. And looking at their history, you got to figure it's like, well, they won't be there. But maybe this is the year that whole NL Central thing is so dominant, blah, 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 falls apart. Because it seems like it lasted forever, but it was really just last year when the Cubs really picked up. Before that, it was the Cardinals and the Pirates and the Cardinals and the Pirates. But maybe the Cubs are just too good, and this is the year the Pirates finally fall back. And the Cardinals somehow. That would be that's got to be the story of the early 21st century so far if that happens. But the Cardinals actually miss the playoffs. They seem to think that's their birthright, like they can send them a double A team and win. And excellent. Ted is going back into the Megatron zone. I do want to mention something about International Signing Day is today, which is kind of cool. And there is a big prospect that the Braves landed, Kevin Maitan. He is number one prospect on the list, 16-year-old switch-hitting shortstop. Sounds pretty good. Basically, the consensus on Maitan is that he is the best prospect to come out of Venezuela since Miggy. So if this kid is close to that, wow, and the Braves signed him. So in about, say, 3 years, you can look forward to sitting in traffic for 5 hours to get to the new Braves ballpark to watch this kid hit. So pretty cool. Padres spent a lot of money. They landed 6 of the top 30 prospects. Red Sox, I hadn't even heard about this until just looking over this morning. Red Sox got penalized. They're not signing anybody on International Signing Day because they were penalized because they screwed around with the rules last year. And not only were they barred from signing anybody this year on a National Signing Day, they lost all their signees from last year. What they did is they violated the rules. There's a cap on how much money you can spend, and they kind of played the game because what they did is they paid money to an agent, and everyone was supposed to get the same amount of money after they signed their one big player, and the agent divvied up the money so they could sign the better prospects to more money against the rules. So they lost all those prospects. The prospects got to keep the signing bonuses, which is awesome, so they made out like bandits, and they're all free agents again. So bad Red Sox. Bad, bad, bad. Don't cheat. That's a bad thing. Stats in general. Who's hitting well? Ooh, Mr. Murphy, surprise. Altuve and Murphy basically tied at 352 in batting average. Mr. Ortiz, speaking of Boston, what is in his cornflakes? I mean, and really not making. I'm really not casting doubt as to what he's taking or anything. It's like it's hitting 342, which is pretty nice. I mean, he's been a good average hitter, but seriously, he's hitting 342, 64 ribbies. It's like, man alive, 552 homers for his career so far. The big fella's had a pretty big career, wouldn't you say? It's like, wow. And you know, I'm so tired of talking about PEDs and all that other crap. I don't even care anymore. And it's like, take whatever you want. I mean, and again, I don't really think he's doing it because there's been so much scrutiny that's gone. And the guy was a talent before, a big talent, big power, but it's just what a year the guy's having.
Todd, did his name ever pop up in any report?
I don't believe it ever popped up in a report. There were rumors going around, and he denied this and denied that. And when Lee comes back next week, he'll say, "No, you were wrong. This is what happened." Because I'm not saying I'm wrong, but just in general. But he's one of those guys that there's always whispers going around, or maybe he supposedly admitted to taking something at some point and then backtracked on it. But it's a great story. It's a great story that he's having the season he's having. So very, very, very cool. I like it a lot. Don't really care for the Red Sox, but I like it a lot. But then again, at least he's not a Yankee.
So true. Oh my, oh my. I guess we're going to get to, because I want to give you ample time to tell me about Wimbledon.
Yeah, let's jump on Wimbledon right now. All I'm really going to talk about at Wimbledon is there's only one story. There's two stories at Wimbledon. The weather, which is awful, and surprise, it's raining in England in early summer. But a lot of matches have been pushed back. At one point, some of the top seeds were in the third round, and there were still players who had to finish their first round matches. That's how delayed things had gotten. And gradually things catch up. But the big story is Mr. Djokovic. He's actually down 2-0. 2-0. And rain, luckily for him, rain suspended the match. And by the time it stopped raining, it was too dark. And right now it's still raining, and they only had one match going on in the stadium, where the only one that have the roof. So who knows when they'll be able to start? Hopefully today. But this actually happened to him last year. He was down 2-0 in a match, and had to be held off just for darkness, and came back and won. But obviously, if anybody can come back from down 2-0, it's Djokovic. But man, I watched quite a bit of the match yesterday, and Lee was watching it too. And like Lee said, he looks like he's beaten. He just looked awful in the second set. It looked like he was just done. And I've never seen the guy look like that. And you know, it didn't really look like he was injured. I mean, he's had some back issues during this tournament, but other than that, I mean, Stan Wawrinka lost in a pretty tough match against Juan Del Potro, who's come back from a bad wrist injury. He had surgery, and Del Potro, great on Del Potro, coming back and having a big win against Wawrinka. Wawrinka was seeded fourth. So I guess I lied when I said there's only one big story. But by far the big story is Djokovic, and it's not so much that he's down 2 sets, it's that he looked terrible in the second set. Absolutely awful. So that will be the story of the year for tennis if he does not come back and win that this match. And who knows when they'll be able to play it. Hopefully they can get it in. So that's my Wimbledon update, because really that's the only story about it that matters. On to, would you like to talk about Brexit? Brexit? Is that something you eat for breakfast?
I'm not sure, and I, you know what? I heard the story from the mainstream media that someone had to tell Donald Trump the true meaning of Brexit. He just didn't understand. He was like, Brexit? What are you talking about? You know, and dude, it's a mess.
It is a mess, and I haven't studied it in depth enough to have an intelligent, informed opinion on whether this is a good thing or seriously whether it's a good thing or not. My reaction, my initial thought is it's not a good thing, just because of some of the things I've read that the reasons that it passed is the voters who voted for the exit, the reasons they listed, and because it was anti-immigration. Yay, where have we heard that? And that one of the main proponents said, well, the money we pour into the EU, we're going to be able to put that into the National Health Fund. And then the day it passed, he said, well, actually, we can't do that. Like, oh, okay, so great. So you're lying to people. You're lying to people. And now that it's passed, you say, well, gee, sure would be great if we could do that, but I guess I was lying. Ha ha. I was like, lovely. So, you know, based on those reactions, it doesn't sound like it was probably the smartest thing to do. And you mentioning the presumptive orange-haired Oompa Loompa who will be running on the Republican ticket, just hilarious that he's in Scotland promoting one of his businesses because, of course, he's in a presidential campaign, so why wouldn't you be, you know, worrying about opening a golf course? And tweeting about how great this is, that they stood up for independence in Scotland when 62% of the Scots voted to stay in the EU. And just got excoriated, disemboweled, and ripped asunder on Twitter by, I don't know, hundreds maybe, of Scots saying, you big whatever, you big dummy, we voted to stay. Like, how can you be so misinformed and such a tool that you're in Scotland congratulating them for voting for independence when they did not? Like, what a fool he is. Like you said, is like having to be explained what it means, and just, and like I said before, it's too easy to pick. I mean, he's a big dummy eternally of the week, but my gosh, what a. As far as Brexit itself goes, I mean, there's still word that, well, it may not ever happen because it's a referendum. It's not a binding legal agreement. I mean, Parliament can vote to say, no, we're not doing this. We're going against the will of the people. They could say we're going to have another referendum now that you know what really this entails. But I would imagine that they're still going to go through with it. But Scotland's not going to be part of the UK for long. I mean, they already had their referendum and they lost. But now that almost 2/3 of the Scottish people voted to stay in the EU, they're not going to want to stay in the UK when the UK is leaving. So. Congratulations on breaking up your conglomeration of whatever the hell you call yourselves, because Scotland will not be part of that. Talk about having far-reaching changes. I mean, my gosh. I mean, how much money, the value that the pound sterling lost the day of the vote, and just goes on and on and on. It's the fact that a lot of it seemed to be fueled by just the anti-immigrant hate is perhaps a lesson some people here should look into. So I think that's enough for me about Brexit. Anything else from you on the favorite breakfast biscuit of Great Britain?
Not at all. Not at all. When it's like, just as you said, it's not good, and it's not good for everyone. It's spilling everywhere. The one thing it is good for, Todd, I think I'm going to refinance, because with the situation at Brexit, mortgage rates are dropping lower. So there you go. I'm going to capitalize on something like that. No, it's bad. It's a bad deal every which way you look at it.
I will say one more thing about the Oompa Loompa. That was in his statement about Brexit. 3 times he talked about how good this was for his properties.
Yes.
Didn't spend much time talking about how the greater global impact, but it's like, oh, this is great because the pound is going to drop in value, and that means more tourists for me. Like, wow, dude. Like, unbelievable. The selfish, narcissistic, borderline psychopathic tendencies of this guy to think of himself above everything else constantly. It's just amazing. I'm tired to think about him. I want to think about someone who's really cool, as opposed to that person.
Hey, I just want to jump in before you talk about the great Pat Summitt, the late great Pat Summitt. 3 things I just want to mention really quick. I think Corey Lewandowski had a horrible week at CNN. A horrible first week at CNN. CNN was nominated Dummy of the Week by a lot of people for making that hire, along with his confidentiality agreement. That's one. Roger Goodell made more money than any NFL player in 2015. They have listed as on his tax filing showed $32 million for the season. So his rankings or his approval ratings doesn't matter because he works for the billionaires. And number 3, Amari Stoudemire is talking up a reunion with the Knicks. So along with the current theme of the MASH unit, can you employ any more broken down players? More players with more injuries? I just had to talk about those 3 points right there, and let's get to the late great Pat Summitt and what she meant to the world.
Yeah, and she actually meant a lot to the world. I mean, basically, more than anybody, created the women's game in basketball and had a huge impact on women's sport overall. When she took over, women, and this is in college, women were playing a game where 3 were on offense on one side of the court, 3 were on defense on the other side of the court, and there was one roamer who could cross over and play both ends, but that was it, because for whatever insane reason, they viewed women as not being physically capable of the rigors of running a full court. Talk about changing the game. 8 national championships, most wins ever in college basketball, period, not just women's. Tons of stories about her from players about her generosity and her kindness, which I know sounds like a joke, but in addition to her toughness. But one of my favorite stories about her came from one of the male players in Tennessee, and he said they were practicing. This was under Coach Bruce Pearl, who was the best men's coach they'd had in about 20 years at that point, got him to the Elite 8. And he said, practice is a little light. They're kind of goofing around. Pat Summitt's watching the practice like she did a lot of times. And at one point, she just got pissed off, threw the basketball, and said, all right, that's it. You guys are running. You guys are running sprints, and I mean you're running them hard. And he said he looks over at their Coach Pearl, and Coach Pearl just like shakes his head and walks off and said, and as he's walking off, he said, she's running this practice. And it wasn't like, and they had a great relationship, Pearl and Summitt. So it wasn't like he said, whatever. It's like, apparently that day he wasn't reaching them, so he let the coach reach them. And Mr. Williams, he was the center, 6'11". He's the center. He said he puked twice that day in practice. They figured out what it means and what it takes to be a champion. You practice hard. You practice harder than you play. And again, I'm not knocking Bruce Pearl at all. I mean, he was a terrific coach for them. But there's a coach, and then there's the coach. And Pat Summitt was all about effort, absolutely about effort, and she let them know. And because of that, I mean, she built this dynasty in Knoxville, and really, because of her, she popularized the women's game so much that they got next. I mean, there would be no WNBA, and whether you want to joke about it or not, whether it matters to you or not, it matters to the fans of the WNBA, and it certainly matters to those young ladies who are making a really great living playing professional basketball, and that would not have been there without Pat Summitt. So talk about an icon of a sport. I mean, without her, women aren't playing professional basketball, and I guarantee you there are thousands of women who are not in sports being successful without looking up to that trail that she blazed for them, that women, we got this. We can do this. So that's, again, like you said, 2016 has just taken some amazing worldwide icons, and that's another one. So accomplished a heck of a lot. We should all put up the effort that Pat Summitt did and that Pat Summitt demanded.
So true. So true. Our show is about to come to an end. We want to also say rest in peace to the great Buddy Ryan.
Yes.
For all he's done for the game. We'll be back next week. We're going to close out with our outro. Todd, as usual, thank you for allowing me to work with you once again.
We should tag up.
The fans hoping to catch a little bit of the old-time religion right here, baby. With Junior stepping up to the plate. Here comes the stretch. And the pitch to Junior on the way. Swing and a fly ball hit to deep right center field. That baby is going to be fly away. The old-time religion lives. Junior does it. A 2-run home run. And we are tied at 3-3. My, oh my. Man.
The deals are getting hotter during the Deere days of summer. Get 0% financing for 60 months on all John Deere compact tractors. Plus, get a best-in-class 6-year powertrain warranty at no additional cost. Hurry in today for the hot deals of summer. Offer ends August 2nd, 2016, subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial. Terms, conditions, exclusions, and warranty limitations apply. See dealer for details.
Visit your local John Deere dealer today to take advantage of special savings going on now. Find out more at myjohndeeredealer.com.
Fios is not cable. We're wired differently, which means you can get the fastest internet available with equal upload and download speeds from 50 to 500 megs. So you can upload 200 photos before your favorite song is finished. Click the ad and switch to Fios today to get our best offer ever.